Caitlin Clark could be refusing to use Indiana Fever medical staff.
Caitlin Clark just delivered the ultimate slap in the face to the Indiana Fever medical staff, and Stephanie White's announcement made it crystal clear. Applause looks like she's in pain. After yet another injury disaster, Caitlin is apparently done trusting the team doctors and going her own route. The medical staff just got fired by their own superstar, and the fallout is absolutely brutal. But before we get into this medical staff meltdown, let me know in the comments, do you think Caitlin Clark is right to ditch the Fever doctors after all these recurring injuries?
Looks like she's in.
Well, folks, we've officially reached the point where Caitlin Clark has apparently had enough of the Indiana Fever's medical circus. And honestly, can you blame her? When your star player keeps getting hurt every few games and the medical staff seems about as reliable as a chocolate teapot, maybe it's time to find some actual professionals. Stephanie White just dropped some information that basically confirms what everyone with functioning brain cells already suspected. The Fever medical staff has completely lost Caitlin Clark's trust, and she's taking her injury management into her own hands. Let's break down what actually happened here, because the clues are scattered throughout Stephanie White's recent comments, like breadcrumbs leading to a medical disaster. When she was asked about Caitlin's injury status, she said something very telling that everyone seems to be missing.
Caitlin Clark has already been ruled out for tomorrow's game, Tuesday night, against New York in New York.
She said Caitlin is going to see some doctors and get more tests run early in the week.
Well, I haven't seen C since the game last night, but I think she's progressing. I think that we're continuing to address everything that needs to be addressed. She's gonna see some doctors and get some more tests run early in the week. I don't expect her to be available on Tuesday, so we're just gonna continue to take it one day at a time and let her get her evaluations early this week, and then once we've done that, hopefully we'll have more of a clear line of what it looks like.
Not see our doctors or see the team doctors, but some doctors. That's not the language you use when your player is sticking with the team medical staff. That's the language you use when your player has basically fired your medical team and gone shopping for competent healthcare.
They look like two different doctors just told the shocking truth about Caitlin Clark.
The timing of all this is absolutely perfect too, because it comes right after multiple actual medical professionals have publicly criticized how the Fever have been handling Caitlin's injuries. When real doctors are calling out your medical staff on social media, that's probably a sign that something's gone wrong. Dr. Jesse Morris, who's an actual athletic medicine expert, basically torched the Fever medical staff by saying that whatever they're doing is unfortunately not enough. Not kind of working, not needs improvement, but straight up not enough. That's medical professional speak, for these people have no idea what they're doing. The injury timeline tells the whole story, too. Caitlin Clark has been dealing with groin and quad issues since literally the beginning of the season. Left groin strain, then another left groin strain, then a right groin strain. She hasn't been able to play 5 consecutive full games all season because something keeps breaking down. That's not normal wear and tear from playing basketball. That's either terrible luck or terrible medical management. And when it keeps happening over and over again, luck stops being a reasonable explanation. The fact that she keeps getting the same types of injuries suggests that whatever treatment and rehabilitation she's been getting isn't addressing the root cause of the problem. Real medical professionals have pointed out that groin strains are notoriously tricky to heal properly, and if you don't handle them correctly, they just keep coming back. But here's where it gets really interesting. Multiple doctors have suggested that Caitlyn needs more advanced treatment options, including things like stem cell injections and hyperbaric chamber therapy. These aren't exactly basic treatments that every team medical staff is equipped to handle. When Dr. Morris suggested that Caitlyn might need stem cell injections at the specific tendon attachment points, that's not something your average team doctor is probably doing in the locker room. That requires specialized expertise and equipment that maybe the Indiana Fever medical staff doesn't have. The way Stephanie White has been talking about these injuries has been suspicious from the beginning.
2.
She keeps saying Caitlyn is day-to-day when actual medical professionals are saying groin strains are more like week-to-week injuries. Either she doesn't understand what her medical staff is telling her, or her medical staff doesn't understand what they're dealing with. The pattern of communication around these injuries has been weird, too. Remember when Stephanie White claimed she didn't know about Caitlyn's injury until the night before she was ruled out? Either the medical staff isn't communicating properly, or they don't actually know what's going on with their star player's health.
Now,
we're hearing that Caitlyn is going to see some doctors to get a clearer picture of what's happening. That sounds like someone who's lost confidence in the medical advice she's been getting and wants a second, third, and probably fourth opinion from people who actually know what they're doing. The financial implications of this are huge, too. Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA and probably worth millions of dollars in revenue to the league and the Fever organization. When your most valuable asset keeps getting injured because of questionable medical management, that's a business problem as much as it is a health problem. Think about it from Caitlyn's perspective. She's in her second year as a professional athlete. She's at the peak of her earning potential, and she keeps getting hurt in ways that seem preventable with proper medical care.
of course, she's going to
Seek out the best possible treatment, even if it means going around her own team's medical staff. The comparison to other professional sports is stark, too. NBA players routinely get second opinions and seek out specialized treatment when they're dealing with recurring injuries. The fact that this seems unusual in the WNBA probably says more about the league's medical standards than it does about Caitlyn's
decision-making.
The Chicago Bulls comparison that's been floating around is particularly damaging for the Fever. The Bulls became notorious for mishandling player injuries, most famously with Derrick Rose. If the Fever are getting compared to that organization when it comes to medical management, that's not exactly a badge of honor. What's really telling is how quickly this injury situation escalated. Caitlyn was playing well, seemed healthy, and then suddenly she's dealing with multiple groin and quad issues that keep recurring. That suggests either a fundamental problem with her training and conditioning program, or a fundamental problem with how her injuries are being diagnosed and treated. The fact that doctors are suggesting she might need to be shut down for extended periods or risk re-injuring these same areas for the rest of the season is terrifying for everyone
involved.
That's not the kind of medical advice you get when things are being handled properly. Stephanie White's language around the injury has been consistently confusing, too. She keeps talking about taking things one day at a time and being day-to-day, but then in the same breath, she's saying they don't expect Caitlyn to be available for upcoming games. Those two things don't really match up. The timing with the All-Star game made this even more obvious. Caitlyn missed the biggest showcase event of the WNBA season because of an injury that the team apparently didn't see coming or couldn't prevent. That's a massive failure on multiple